Welcome to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock, who is the co-founder of videosocials.net and of videointerviewpodcast.com. In every episode, Mark interviews business and organizational thought leaders who share their stories of how they inspire others by making a difference. You can find this show on videosocials.net and YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and almost any podcast platform of your choosing.
Welcome, and I'm excited because today is my friend and guest and client, or my guest, happens to be my friend and client, Michael Steger. Michael is a copyright, trademark, entertainment, and business lawyer working with small and mid-sized businesses and content creators. And he's the founder of the law offices of Michael D. Steger, PC. Welcome, Mike. Great to have you.
Thanks, Mark. It's good to be here.
Terrific. So I think probably the best place to start is can you define and or describe your practice? Because I don't know that everybody understands what a copyright attorney actually does.
Sure. So, I have a couple areas of practice. They tend to be related. So on the copyright side, I am representing content creators, so individuals and companies that are creating protectable copyrighted material, such as computer software, photographs, entertainment projects, drawings, designs, artwork, things like that. And the vast majority of my work with those creators is protecting their works from infringement, primarily through litigation or other claims where we are seeking to get somebody to stop infringing and also to pay compensation that is due to my clients. Similarly, do a lot of trademark work, and trademark is anything that identifies the source of goods or services. So it's typically your company brand name, logo, or slogan. And it can be either just words or a design. And most of my work in that area is helping them obtain federal trademark registration through the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Also do some licensing work and litigation in that area. But the bulk of my work there is obtaining registrations for them to get protection. And then I spent 5 years in-house with Fox Television, about 20 years ago. And from that, I developed an entertainment practice that is both litigation and transactional work, but I work with writers, producers, production companies, musicians, filmmakers, helping them get the necessary contracts in place, making sure they're complying with whatever vast array of laws they need to comply with, and helping them enter complete transactions that'll get their entertainment projects out to the public. Or sometimes those deals go bad, and we may end up in litigation. And then my business practice is somewhat similar to the other areas. It's a fair amount of business formation, outside general counsel work, dealing with contracts and the vast array of legal challenges that small to mid-sized businesses have.
So thank you. And what I find fascinating is that you make it sound fascinating, not necessarily in your description today, but you've done videos, a number of videos with our team with Video Socials, and your engagement with that, which we can talk about in a second. But one of the things that keeps coming up for me is you give so many tidbits of, it could be a phrase, it could be a color scheme. There's all kinds of things that fall into trademark that I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize, or just assume, oh, it's okay if I use this or use that. And the position and angles of things, it's incredibly detailed. But at the same token, you give such great examples. But where can people find these wonderful tidbits of information that I think is incredibly valuable?
Well, they can find many of them on the Video Socials YouTube channel. You can just go to that and plug my name in, and there will be a there's a vast library of videos covering a wide range of copyright and trademark topics, and then also just some general business issues and marketing issues that from time to time I record on when I'm stuck for a good trademark or copyright topic. But that's where most of those videos lie.
Terrific. So I already know the answer to this, but I really, want to know what you feel differentiates you from other IP attorneys, because I know one of those things is you're actually making some really valuable content available for free in the form of videos. But what else differentiates you from other IP attorneys?
Well, the chief differentiator that I've always had is my height, because I'm taller than most other IP attorneys, but not all. Although I found that doesn't really help me get more clients by being taller. I think there's sort of two things. One is most of my trademark work is flat fee, and there are a lot of other trademark attorneys who do flat fee work, but in my experience, for small to mid-sized businesses, maybe who don't work a lot with lawyers, the flat fee in any kind of legal work you're doing can be very appealing, because there's some cost certainty, and they know, if I'm going to get this trademark, here's what it's going to cost,
right.
Not that it's going to cost X $100 per hour. And I, as the business owner, have no idea like how many hours you're going to put into this.
Right.
So, I've found that to be helpful. Also on the trademark side, the client is getting me. There are, trademark services that charge very low fees, but in many of those cases, there's not a lawyer's not doing the substantive work. They have a non-lawyer staff person. I have had many clients come to me after they used one of those services and something got screwed up. In many cases, something that was very basic. So, as I've cautioned in other videos, a lot of times with legal work, you get what you pay for. And then one other differentiator is on the copyright side. I'm mostly representing copyright claimants, and the vast majority of my work in that area is done on a contingent fee basis. So the client is only paying out-of-pocket costs, but is not paying an hourly fee, and I only get paid if there's a recovery in the case.
So I kind of wanted to drill into one of the areas that you talked about, and that's that they get you. They're not just getting a quote service that's doing it, but this also brings up the question, and I know that you've done some videos on this. What about do-it-yourself and/or downloading templates off of the internet, or again, going, as you mentioned, going to one of these services that give a general or blanket templated default way of looking at trademarks and copyrights. Why does it behoove them to actually have a conversation with somebody like you instead of going down that path?
For both trademark and copyright, you can get a registration yourself. Copyright tends to be the copyright application process. I think is more straightforward. There's less nuance to it. Most of my copyright clients register their own copyrights. And except in a couple cases, especially with computer software, it's not that complicated to do on your own. On the trademark side, you can get your own trademark until you can't. So it's, if you can go ahead and get it, great. But if you don't get it, then you're going to run into some serious delays. And one of the issues, if you screw up a trademark filing, these days, is the trademark office is so backed up and is so flooded with applications that it's usually taking at least 9 months until you get a preliminary response from the trademark office. It's 9 months from when you file until one of the examining attorneys actually looks at it. And, for example, 6-7 years ago, it took 3 months until you get an initial response. And the problem with that is if you think you're going to be able to get this trademark registered, you file your application, you start building out your business using this trademark, it's going to be 9 months until you actually know if you've got a good chance of getting it through or not. And that can be a lot of wasted time and possibly wasted resources for your business.
So in layman's terms, I'm going to put that as you said screw up, but it's not like you intentionally mess something up or left something out or presented language in such a way that the Copyright Office may not agree with. You don't want to trigger them having to revisit this, because it's going to turn into a year and a half or something like that. If that's the case, why not make a smaller investment and have a conversation with somebody like yourself that can help make sure that they've got the best chance going into it, that it's going to get approved. And I imagine that there's a certain amount of due diligence that you can do, or at least help them do, as to what already exists, and are you potentially stepping on any toes inadvertently by submitting for something that you're probably not going to get because somebody else has something already very similar or the same. Right.
And people can do some of that due diligence themselves, but they may not know exactly where to look. There are I like to say that trademark registration practice, it's both a science, but there's also a lot of art to it. And you have to know what nuances to look for, possible variations of the mark. Sometimes it depends who else has similar marks. Are they businesses that are very aggressive in policing their trademarks and may come after you, even if you're not doing anything wrong? They may just say, we've got a lot of money, and we're going to come after you. And also to make sure that you're filing for the right goods and services. I've had numerous potential clients come to me over the years where they filed the trademark application, but it was for goods or services that weren't relevant to their business. And then they find out later that, okay, this doesn't provide any protection, or, we said that the trademark was for hats, but really we're just selling soda. So can we switch it? And the answer is no. You have to go back and start from scratch.
So even from the, again, it's from the inception, it's almost like a planning process, right? So it's I would think if I was wanting to trademark something, it would be incredibly valuable to have a conversation with you, because you're going to help me define, okay, how are my services tied with my company name, tied with the trademark that I'm seeking, as an example, rather than, again, if you don't know all this stuff, if you're not in these nuances, if you're not paying attention to the art side, as it were, to use your phrase, if you weren't looking at these nuances, you could really set yourself up for a considerable investment of time and money into something that either doesn't get approved or is not going to be relevant for what it is that you're not going to get. Even if you get, quote, a trademark, if it's against the wrong service, or if it's against something that you just wasted all that time and money, and you're just going to have to go back and do it again anyway. So I know that you've covered a lot of, and if I may, just to kind of talk about how we know each other and how we get together. So as is already mentioned, I'm the co-founder of videosocials.net, and you're a member of Video Socials and have been for quite a while, and you've done a whole bunch of videos that you have out there on YouTube, and I believe tied in with your website and other social media services. So, and there'll be links, by the way, for our audience, there'll be links associated with this for those. But, really, what is Video Socials and what is it for you? And, we endeavor to create an environment where people that don't know how to be on the internet, on video, have the opportunity to come in, get some practice, work together with others, because it's, talk. It's very lonely to talk to this inanimate object called a camera when we don't have somebody to have a conversation with. And so we do it in a small group format. It's an experiential learning environment. In other words, we learn by doing. But why did you join Video Socials, and what do you think you've gotten out of it?
Well, your business partner twisted my arm to join. I had been wanting to distribute content on a regular basis for years, and did not have the bandwidth to write a regular newsletter or blog on a regular basis. I blogged infrequently when I had time and inspiration. And when I started with Video Socials, I have a regular weekly appointment where I have to set aside 50 minutes to sit down and record with other people in my group. But I've used that platform essentially as a video newsletter, so that I'll do 3 to 4 videos a month, typically send them out the week after I record. And primarily I use it to keep top of mind with other lawyers, some potential clients, but primarily my referral partners, and just want them to be aware of, here's a new issue, and keep reminding them, here are my practice areas. I don't really use it for SEO purposes. I'm not looking to necessarily have trademark clients just find me online and come in, because my experience has been they have not been well qualified for the most part. But it's really to keep top of mind with my referral partners. And I found that this is a very efficient way to get my message out and stay top of mind with them. And prior to recording these, to starting with Video Socials, I'd done a lot of in-person networking and was familiar and experienced with coming up with a 2 to 4 minute pitch and description of my services, and those skills translated well to the Video Socials format.
Well, terrific. And what's most interesting to me, Mike, is that I think a lot of people would consider IP law as a whole something that's pretty dry and shall we say vanilla. And you always seem to, you've got a great sense of humor, and you always seem to, when you're creating your videos, you tie it into known brands and known issues that are in the news, as an example, that really kind of bring it to life. I would never have thought, frankly, that I would just enjoy, even though I may not be seeking a copyright or a trademark, at the time. I find your videos to be entertaining, as well as something that really brings across a point that I may never have considered. So thank you for embracing it, and thank you for being a member, and you're certainly a valued member of that. And if for our audience, if you have an interest of doing video content for your marketing, to get out on social media, to get out in newsletters, these types of things, there's no cost or obligation to be a guest at Video Socials. There'll be a link, tied in with this, but it's videosocials.net, and just click on the guest, come as a free guest tab at the top. We'd love to meet you. And so with that, I had one more major question. And
well, before that, Mark, can I go back to follow up on something you mentioned that I didn't get to respond to?
Sure, absolutely.
You had asked, what about downloading templates for the internet,
yes,
and legal contracts and things like that. My experience is, in some areas of law, you can find good forms online. I do practice in the entertainment space, and I found there you have to be so careful what you are downloading, because most of the entertainment contracts for writers, producers, investors, distributors, the ones that you find online tend to be very heavily tilted to one side or the other. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to know essentially who's going to get the raw end of the deal. And I have had numerous people come in over the years because they have projects that are not well funded or they don't want to spend a lot of money. And they'll say, okay, I came up with this contract. I found something online and I revised it. And I'll look at it and smack my head and say, you're giving up all these things that normally you would not have to give up, and you're not getting anything extra for it. So this is crazy. That's just an area where there are a lot of minefields for the layperson in trying to do their own contracts if they don't know what they're looking for.
And thank you for revisiting that, because that's been my experience in almost all circumstances when it comes to law and contracts, because whoever wrote that contract that they've now made available for free on the internet had a point of view, had a perspective that they were writing it from, and it may not be the perspective that serves you as the person who's looking to enter into that contract or use that form. So again, just another reason why, at the very least, they should have a conversation with you about what they're considering. Do you do those types of consultations with people? Is there a fee for having a conversation?
Typically, I do charge a consultation fee, which is mostly to make sure that the person who's contacting me is serious about getting legal advice. Typically, that fee would be used as a credit on the first bill if they do hire me to do actual work.
Terrific. So even though there's a little bit of pain there, but I think that it's a small investment, and if they can apply some or all of that towards actually getting work done, it seems to me a no-brainer that people would want to do that. But in addition to what we've already talked about, what would you want a business owner to know about trademarks?
I think the most important thing is that you have to be aware of when your trademark rights start. And there are two ways that they start. One is actual use of your trademark in commerce. So if you're actually using it with your business, you can get exclusive rights to use that mark with the goods or services you're offering in the geographic area that you're using them. And for many businesses, that's only going to be, one or a few states. For trademark registrations, if you get a registration for your goods or services and it is approved, your federal rights in that registration run back to the day that you filed the application. So not the day that you actually approve use or the day that it's actually approved, but once you get that approval, your rights are retroactive to the day that you filed the application. So in most cases, it makes a lot of sense to file as soon as you can, as soon as you're sure this is the trademark that I want to use. So I love this logo. This is the one we're going to use. We've got this great catchphrase or slogan for our business. That's what we want to use. You want to go ahead and file that application, and you can file a trademark application if you're actually using the trademark, but also if you have a bona fide intent to use that trademark, then you can also file, then you can prove use later on, but your rights run retroactive to the day that you file the application. And you do not have any rights if it is a situation where, well, our marketing department came up with this and discussed it with management, and we thought this would be great, and then somebody else started using the same trademark, while we were debating. In that case, you're out of luck. And I've had multiple people come in where that was their situation. So once you've come up with something, you should move to protect it as soon as possible.
And I think that the unstated part of that is that keep it confidential while you're figuring it out. And I know this isn't. I assume that this isn't your area, but this also comes into your non-disclosures and whatnot, as far as your agreements with your employees and with those that are helping you think up these potentially proprietary processes and services, and how you're going to identify them, how you're going to go to market with them, et cetera, et cetera. Because if you don't have, I had a client, a coaching client over the years that, never got around to really putting together the appropriate employment contracts with their people, and it bit them because they took proprietary information and made it available to a competitor, and there was nothing that could be done about it because, one, it wasn't trademarked, and two, there was no agreement between the parties to keep them from doing that. So that's just one of the areas I think that something like IP law can plug into the rest of the law that we need to be paying attention to as business owners. So absolutely fantastic. So you did have somebody else, Mike, that you thought would be potentially a good guest for this show that you said you've known for some time, Gordon Coyle. What can you tell us about Gordon?
Gordon is a very experienced player in the commercial insurance business, commercial property and casualty insurance. I've known him for a long time. He's a very dynamic speaker and presenter, and he's got plenty of experience with video presentations as well. As I think a lot of us have gotten much more experienced in that field over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Michael, thank you. Is there anything we missed, or anything that you can any final words that you might want to?
Just in my experience, if someone talks to me sooner rather than later, they're either going to get a much more effective result because the sooner we can address something, whether it's a trademark registration that the client wants to get, if there's a copyright dispute, something like that, it tends to be much less expensive to address that up front. Or the client can get peace of mind by getting an answer that, like, no, you're never going to be able to get that trademark. No, you don't have a copyright infringement claim. No, you're not violating someone's rights. But they can get that peace of mind up front, which sometimes happens when they come to me, and that frees them up to move along and do other things with their business. Yes, you might, but here's the steps that you would need to do, and time is of the essence, because we're all operating at internet speed now, right? So it's like as soon as word gets out about something, you can guarantee somebody's going to try to replicate it, borrow it, without permission, et cetera. So I think your suggestion that sooner rather than later, as soon as you've got a problem that you want to work out, or you want to put something in place in the form of a trademark or registration, whatnot, that would prevent a problem from coming about, the sooner that they reach out to you, the better it's going to be for them. So fantastic. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on today. People might wonder, how is this in inspiring business, appropriate content, and the fact of the matter is, and why I wanted you on is that you're a deep thinker, and you seem to really care about people, and you pay attention to the details in ways that it's not just the technician, right? Because there's a lot of lawyers that are, shall we say, technicians. They know the granular components of the contracts, et cetera, et cetera. But I know you to be somebody who is interested and wants to help people in pursuing protecting themselves and or protecting them from themselves in the fact that they may very well
completely inadvertently be putting themselves in a position where they're putting themselves at risk. And I know that you work diligently to help people manage that risk, et cetera. So thank you for being on today, and we'll see you soon at a video socials meeting. And thank you for our audience. Don't forget to subscribe. And the biggest favor that you can provide is to pass this along. If you found this valuable, to pass this along to others that you may find they could find it useful for themselves as well. Take care.
You, Mark.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock. Your positive comments, likes, and most importantly, your sharing of this show with others is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to the Inspiring Business Podcast on whatever platform you prefer. You can catch prior episodes on videosocials.net and on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all the major podcast platforms.